What's up guys, Brett Medlock here. Today I wanted to talk about something that is sort of odd that we're not really used to talking about when it comes to video game reviews. With a game like Days Gone. Now obviously it's had a pretty mixed reception overall. You've seen 10s, you've seen 7s, I don't know if you've really seen 10s, but you've seen 9s and you've seen 6s, and even 5s, which I think is a little crazy. But anyway, with Days Gone, it's a very, very mixed reception. However, there is one thing I find weird about this whole situation, and I'm going to dig into it right now. Critics, including myself, played this game like 10 patches prior to launch. Like, there's just been so many patches since the game launched, and before it launched, there was like 3 or 4 or 5, maybe even 5 patches that happened before the game even launched. And since the game has come out, there's already been like 7 or 8, maybe even more patches than that. So if you're just now buying the game, let's say tomorrow you buy the game, you download all the patches, you're playing a much different game than critics did 2 weeks before the game came out, whenever there was no patches or maybe only a few. And as a game industry as a whole, I think we should step back and realize that and not all rush out to get our reviews out the day that the embargo lifts. Now I'll be honest, I was one of those people. I wanted to get my review out as soon as possible. I got the game early, very exciting stuff. You play it, you review it, you post your review right whenever you're allowed to. But I don't really think that's the way we should do this anymore, because let's be honest, we reviewed a version of the game that nobody is getting in their hands. We reviewed a version of the game that had a bunch of technical issues, a bunch of loading problems, missions won't start, enemies start floating around, the sound completely cuts out. Those are the types of issues that were present in the version of the game that critics played. However, the game right now, post-launch, with a bunch of updates, that version's a lot better. You're not worrying about technical problems, you're not being annoyed by stuff. So critics, and once again, including myself, I'm to blame for this as well, we shouldn't have tried to rush out our reviews. We should have waited. We knew there was going to be a day one patch. The very last second, I tried to play the game one day before the embargo to see how it was running, and my God, am I glad I did that, because I had to add to my review that the version of the game that is present right now at launch is a much better version of the game than it was 2 weeks prior. The patches fixed Days Gone in so many different ways, and for a lot of reviewers, I highly doubt they went back and played the game, checked it out again, made sure any of those issues they had were resolved, because I guarantee you some of them were. And as critics, it's our job to tell people whether or not we think a game is worth it, and if that version of the game is no longer available, is no longer being put in people's hands after they buy it, then people seeking information for the game shouldn't even take those reviews into account, because it's not the game they're getting in their hands. Now, I wanted to give you one hypothetical before I go. Okay, so Anthem. The game had a very mixed reception, mostly negative, but a lot of people are still having fun with it. But anyway, what I'm getting at is Anthem was recently patched to offer a bunch of quality of life changes that lets you easily navigate into menus, and a lot of people are saying it's like a night and day difference because there's not nearly as many load screens and you're not wasting a lot of your time. It's quick, it's easy, and it's not aggravating in any way. However, what if this patch would have come just a few days after launching and after the embargo was up? I know a lot of reviewers had problems with how the game went about the menu system and having to go back to the home base just to change the most minor details about your character. A lot of people had problems with that, but what if that issue would have been patched just a few days later? That immediately disregards everything all of those critics had to say about the quality of life issues. In other words, it's not the 90s, or hell, the 2000s, where a game would come out and that was the end of it. Games can be easily fixed, they can evolve, they can be totally different games than they were at launch. And in this case, just a few days after they come out. A few days! You can't always rely on reviews that go up right at embargo before the game launches. Now, if it's a review that goes up 5 days after the game launches, it has a bunch of patches, still has a bunch of problems, then you know. But a lot of reviewers, they posted their version of Days Gone, the review for the game that they played, which is a totally different game than the one that you might be playing tomorrow if you buy Days Gone. That's all I really got to say today, guys. Let me know what you think about this down in the comment section below, because this is probably going to become a bigger and bigger problem with these giant day one patches, with these always online games as service games. They radically change just days after launching. So let me know what you think. I'll talk to you guys later.